just a couple of stats here for you. So this was Easter weekend. I think activity across the board was a little bit down, just because that's how it goes, right? But with that said, AI still crushed it. Booked 459 appointments over the last 7 days, even over the Easter weekend. So make sure you're getting your leads in. Real-time connected leads are the best. Those convert the best. And like Nick said, if you are putting your leads in, make sure they have a contact source or you're connecting real-time leads, and getting those and utilizing the system. Later on this year, we're getting really, really good at what the data that we'll be able to give you, right? So I ran some stats on some accounts this week and am able to say, okay, based on this lead, here's what's happening on this lead, and here's what's happening on this lead, and here's your percentages. And if you do that, like, we can get very, very granular, so give you better tools so you can make better decisions about what kind of leads you're running and how they're going and what you need to tweak and what you need to change to maximize your results. The other thing is, just want to point out, and I don't even know if he's on this call, but we had a bunch of people who logged over $10,000 in sold premium over the week. So I'm just going to rattle off some names. Top 10 here. We got Adam Marquis, 10,000. Derek Robinson. Glad you figured out how to sell again there, my man. Also 10,000. Jackson Becker, 10,200. Jeff LeBaron, 11,000. Quentin Kelly, 11,902. You should have got 98 more. Brian Little, always up there, 11,900. Zachary Carpenter, 12,000. Mike Malden, 13,800. Good week for him. Colin Jackson, 14,000. But also an integrity partner, Eric Schmidt, I'm always impressed by this. He's an integrity partner, has a big team, and sold 22,000 for the week, almost double number two. So love seeing people at the top stay at the top. And that's a good transition to our guest speaker, Mr. Dave Whichard, who I'm gonna tell some stories on him. So Dave, when I first was looking at, the IMO we're with, we have different groups on here, but I remember seeing videos on YouTube with this guy. It was like Nick. He always had like a red hat on. I don't remember what it said, but I see all these videos, and a lot of them were Dave and Velocity, and I was like, who is this crazy guy? Didn't know him, and remember watching these videos, like binge watching these videos over and over and over again. And so now that we get to have him on the call and got to know Dave over the years, it's pretty cool. So you were at least somewhat instrumental in getting us the information to be here. So appreciate that, Dave. But Dave is somebody who is an integrity partner, has built a big agency. When we first got to know him, was, I think, the fastest growing agency on planet Earth at the time. And not only that, like, that's cool. Like, I've been around the insurance space since 2007. I wrote my first policy, Dave, back in 2007. And you always see stories. Somebody comes in and they sell a bunch or they grow really fast, but very few people grow really fast and then 5 years, 10 years later, they're still here doing it. And you are, like, you're freaking on the walking pad, getting it done in the office. And what's cool is when you go to events, go to conventions and things like that, you always know who's a part of the Velocity crew. And what that tells me is the people that you're around respect and like you enough to, like, be around you. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh yeah, like, so Dave got me involved in this thing. Like, they're proud to be around you, which is really cool. It says a lot about you as a human, even though anybody might not know you, and you're Hall of Fame producer, and you're a good looking guy. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. So appreciate being on, Dave. How you doing, man?
I got you, brother. Man, blessed, honored. Anytime I get to speak to anyone, really, I look at it as an honor to be asked to do that. Obviously, I wouldn't be where I'm at without Jesus, and got to give God credit first. Um, and
Amen.
so, I think we can all show up and work hard. We can all show up with the right hearts. We all show up with the right minds if we choose to. And I think that's, I mean, Josh, I don't think it's any innate talent for any of us. Obviously, we can get skills and we can build those, but at the end of the day, for me, if you have the right intention to wake up every day and serve other people and show up and you work hard, great things can happen, and then you listen to guys like Sean and you listen to Andrew and my mentors and things like that, and then different people like Trey and Eric, or I'm close to all those guys. Never thinking you've arrived, never thinking of that. I mean, that'd be crazy. It's just, everything that we go through is just, there's the challenges that are going to be in front of us, is how we deal with them. And so for me, it was just, I'm blessed and honored to be with Family First Life. It's crazy. It's been 7 years now. To even say that seems like yesterday. And meeting great guys like you. I mean, I've gotten closer to you and Jamie. Jamie and I've spent some time on the phone together, a few times. I've get to, talk to you obviously on occasion, and, seeing you guys at conventions, like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it's funny you said that, because I was telling Brendan, who's on here, we're backstage and, Hall of Fame, and I looked at him, I was like, dude, it's fun to see people go across that stage, right? And do all these great things. But here's the thing, who's here next year, the year after, the year after that? Like, because anybody can come in and do something for a while, but consistency is the key. I mean, I think if there's one thing I would say about myself, I can do that. I can be consistent. I can show up. I can work hard. Those things I can handle. Um, and so I think that's pretty simple for everybody. That's all I've ever done. And just put God first, serve other people, probably even give back. Be honest with you, Josh, I give you a shirt on my back, right? Like, I don't say that to say that, but I probably gave away more and did more. Maybe even hurt some people giving away too much. You know what I mean? I think I got to get better. I've gotten better at certain things with that, but I want people to win.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm honored to be here.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. Something you said is not, you said not thinking that you've arrived. And I know you work with Eric Hamadi,
Mhm.
and he said something to me at an event a while back, because both of you guys have been in the insurance business forever.
Right.
Yeah, you got slightly more, but the gray on your face
I'm
says
older than
so.
you, buddy.
Yeah. But he said something to me at an event one time. He said, he found himself once upon a time, a couple years back, where he felt like he would come to these events. He's like, I've already heard it. I can't, no one's going to tell me anything new. Like, I'm a smart guy, and he is a smart guy, right? But then he recognized that he was like too into, I have everything figured out, and that is inhibiting me to continue learning, often from new people, right? Sometimes somebody new can come in and maybe they've figured out a different perspective or a different something, and you can take from that. And so you just said, hey, not thinking that you've arrived. I think that's kind of important for everybody. And that's why, we continue to get on things like live dials and go to the events, because, I might have my way and I sell plenty, but I might hear Sheila say something. I'm like, oh man, like I've never thought of it that way. That's really cool. And that happens all the time with Sheila. But so for anybody that doesn't know you, Dave, let's take it back real quick. How, like, here we are on, Lead Champ Pro. We have, AI, tech platform, all this stuff. We're doing virtual sales, but what how did you get into insurance? And I'm just curious, what was your first insurance gig?
So actually, 1997 is crazy to say. I realized 30 years will be next year. It's crazy. So I started with combined insurance, actually going
Yeah.
door to
Oh
door,
yeah.
accident policies, sat in a room with a guy, Bob Fetch. He's a good friend of mine still to this day, mentor. And he basically talked about these accidents. I'm like, I'm in. And he's like,
I
yeah.
got I gotta say, so in 2007, I was with Monumental Life, and we were always talking about those combined guys, the door knockers.
Yeah. I mean, cold calling. I mean, we have leads now. You guys got a call. I was literally knocking on doors, just introducing myself to people I didn't even know. We did have cards to collect. Funny story about that is when I first took that career job, I wanted to make 100 grand. I hadn't made 100 grand. And he said, well, you got to be a district manager, right? I said, what do I got to do? And there was these award systems. It's like 26 weeks. I think I did it in like 19 or something. And they told that story to recruit people to combine for like 2 years later. And I was taking them from that and there was lawsuits actually in that. It was crazy. Bringing them to the company I was with 19 years after that. Anyway, long story short is I just went to work, and if they told me to do 10, I say the story all the time, but they told us to give 10 demos a day. Well, my goal was 20. So I'm like, if it works for other people doing 10, if I can do 20, and I took that same thing at every company I worked with. The other one was 5 or 6, I was doing 10. When I got here, Andrew said, do this or spin this. I just always not 10x it, but my mentality was that. And so that's how I got started. I just I wanted to serve people. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I knew that I could build residual income in insurance. That's why I got into this business. And to this day, it's still the same. I get to serve people. God's called, like, I pray a lot. I listen. Certainly not perfect. God uses broken people all the time, you know. And so for me, it was just like, okay, this is what he has me doing, and this is what I continue to do until I'm called in a different direction, which I'm not. So that's why we're here. But that's how I got started.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Um, so and then you've been here for 7 years now. Obviously, when you started in the home, what was it like for you and your crew, like changing from in-home to telesales?
That's interesting because we in 2020 we went real fast and I rode Hall of Fame, was blessed to do that. Came out of the field, Sean. I remember that phone call. It was like November, and you come out of the field. I'm like, "Can I finish this?" He's like, "Yeah," and I did. But the whole it's been a challenge for me. Like, and I'm saying not saying because I'm on this call, but like this is really the first time I've done a ton of it. Now I had Melvin. We worked together about a year and a half ago, and we worked kind of together, but he knew all the technology side of it. I was just ripping on the phone. You know what I mean? That's a whole different process. I'm a little older than some of you guys. And so when you're going out, and I was literally writing paper apps at one point in my career, right?
Hmm.
And then I have to learn all this stuff. Well, I mean, if it wasn't for this system, which I still get frustrated, I'm just being honest, like, but I'm getting better at it. Every day, I'm getting better. I'm learning this
Yeah.
button, that button, whatever. It's helped me and it helps organize. And I also think back to when we started, I hired Aaron and some of the things he used to do back then, like send out thank you cards, follow up, all those things. It does it. Like you don't have to do that. Like we just got to put the information. I just sold a policy earlier. I like put the policy information in there. I'm like, dude, that would take me who knows how long back then.
D Dave Whichard hits the what happened button. Let it be known.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and it keeps it all in one place. And
Yeah.
I like to think I'm organized, but I'm not. And I mean, to a certain degree, but it does so many things for you, like having an assistant. I'm not saying you shouldn't have an assistant. I'm just saying it can do a lot of things for you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So one thing, we talk on here all the time, sales and organization, automations and all these things. Like, I think you'd agree. There's a lot of things that you're good at. Jamie and I would say there's a lot of things that we're good at. We are not like the most organized human beings, right? And maybe it's like a salesperson thing. We probably have too much caffeine. Oh, Nick told me to ask you, like, how much caffeine do you drink? And
You know,
what's your caffeine of choice? He specifically wanted me to ask you that,
we'll see. When I was
and I got
running,
mine here.
when I was running 2021, I mean, there was Celsius I had to like just to keep going.
Celsius,
But
yeah,
I've
amen to
cut,
that.
but I've kind of cut that out a little bit. This is actually just a cup of coffee. And this morning I probably had this much cup of coffee at home, so I just asked him to be a little bit more. But that's really all I've cut way back over the last couple of years, for health reasons, just making sure, I'll have a cup of coffee or two a day. That's about it. And sometimes it's just one. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. But I used to do when I was traveling like that, dude. I mean, I was popping Celsius left and right. So yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. We all were. Yeah. Jamie says I need to cut back. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We're gonna start an accountability group where we lower our caffeine intake and hold each other accountable.
Yeah, lots
Um,
of water.
Yeah. So the thing that, we talk about all the time is sales, but something that you have been good at, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is, you've built a team, you've built an agency. So a lot of us on here, that's just not something that we talk about all the time. And so what could you share with folks about what are some things that you would say has led to have success in that arena? Because obviously you can be a good salesperson. That doesn't mean that you can be a good leader or coach when it comes to that, whether it be finding the right people or how to get them to stay or how to help them to be more productive. How do we all find a good Mel on our team?
Well, I mean, the group and the team we have now, I mean, obviously Josh being, I've always had this vision of, the heart, faith, and hustle where we pray
Faith
together,
and
we're in
hustle.
the same rooms, we're back to back. And we have that now. It took a few years to find the right ones. I used Instagram for me to find the right people. It's a pretty thorough interview. I mean, we have more than one contact with them, two or three in some cases. do Zooms with them, go through everything. I think obviously if you've done something, it's easier for you to turn around and teach it. I'm not saying you have to sell 30, 40K a month every single month, but there's something to that. But also there's other leadership qualities too. There's from someone who's learned in the business that you can take advice from as well. For me, I just try to pass knowledge along as fast as I can to people. My example simply is showing up and working hard or being the first one in, last one out a lot of times, try to do that. Because if you're asking someone, I will never ask anybody to do anything I've never done. And if I don't know something, I'm not going to act like I do. I'll get the answer. Um, I'll call
It's
here's on here I see or whatever if I have a question or Trey or something like I don't call them all the time, but if there's something I don't know, I'm okay to ask. And so I think it's just being transparent with people who you really are. I think I have learned this that like watch that circle and keep who you keep close to you. But at the end of the day, I'm a very open person and love people coming to my home and being around them and just it's like a family to me. Like I don't see someone I hire as an agent, I see them as part of our family. And I want to treat them like that the best I can. Um,
that's well, two things. One thing is you just said something, right? Like you're and if anybody follows Dave on social, right? Like he's in the gym at like 2:30 in the morning. I don't know if it's that, but it's early. But he's always going. And you said I don't ever want to ask somebody to do something that I either haven't done or I'm not willing to do. And something that I see from the people that are at the absolute top of their game when it comes to building an agency is a lot of people want to build an agency for like that passive income in air quotes so they can stop working. Let's just call it what it is. Like, hey, if I get a big enough team, I can just stop working and the money comes in. But the people that do it the best are like you. It's not merely just a means to an end. Hey, if I get enough people, I can stop working. It's like if I get enough people then I get to help them, and it's like it just keeps going, right? And that seems to be how you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's your purpose. I mean, I think once you find your purpose and, I guess calling and, things that you want to do. And I just want to impact people. I want them to help be the best versions of themselves. And that's what I'm obsessed with is just doing that. And even the clients, we just prayed with a client that was on the phone, great dude, even impacting their lives. I mean, if I've got them on the phone, what can I do to help people? What can I do to make a difference in people's lives? And when you find that, and I've been in it for a long time, I'm not saying there are hard times, believe me. I could share a bunch of them. Falling down, broke, thinking about quitting. I always say that, like, you can think about quitting all you want, just don't do it. You know,
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
many
Quit.
days where I'd go home, to my wife, I don't know if I want to do this anymore or whatever. And it's just like, and she looked back at me like, okay. And then the next morning she goes, I'm good. And I think that's the other thing too. It's okay to think that, but you just get out of those places really, really quick. And you find good guys and people around you that depend on you. When I say depend on you, I mean you become brothers, you become friends. I mean, Eric Schmidt and I walked I don't know how many miles at just a convention in the middle of before everybody else wakes up and nobody knows about it. Me, him, and Trey having conversations or Steven. So you build those relationships over time. I mean, being transparent, like I could go, well, I don't want to go to convention. And I've had those thoughts. I'm just being real.
Oh
But
yeah.
but the reason when I'm there is to serve other people. Like, how can I make a difference to everybody in that room? And when I say serve, I mean just speaking to them, loving on them, hugging on them, whatever. My wife always like said, you're in your element in that place.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. And I try to share that with people. Like if you're in a tough spot, what I've learned in my life, if I take my eyes off my situations, the pains, the hurts. I mean, I've got four daughters. There's going to be stuff. I've
Are
got
you
six
a
great
you,
kids. There's
are
going
you
to
a
be
daughter dad? Oh, I didn't know. I
four.
didn't know.
I
Okay, I
know.
got two. I got two daughters. Okay.
So there's
That's where the
always
grace
time.
comes from right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that's true. That is true. But it's where those hard times you're going through, but when you're reaching out to other people and helping them for whatever reason, your stuff just goes away. So I think if you're having a time, you don't want to go to work or whatever, you don't want to make those phone calls. There's somebody that needs you that day. And
I
so just
I'll
come in
say
and do the
this.
work, you know?
I'll say this, right? If we all get in slumps of all types, right? If you're in a sales slump, I'm gonna call out Derek Robinson because this okay.
Eric's
I wish I had it queued up like some people send us support tickets. Uh, Derek sends us support love notes. He sends us pictures in the support tickets. I can't share them on here. All kinds of weird stuff. But he had this big 6-figure month, and then he was like in a bit of in a bit of a slump. And I've been there hundreds of times, and it's like you can't it's hard to get unslump yourself just like hey get better, but if let's say I go and I'm in the office with Elise Soapy and maybe I go help her close a deal or give her some advice or help her in some kind of way, like helping somebody else do something is the best way to get yourself out of a rut.
Yeah.
I've noticed, and so that's really good. What okay, so you're talking about um just caring about people, this kind of thing. But
Mhm.
also there's the other side, whether it's a client that you're selling or an agent you're trying to help get to the next level, you also have to have some tough conversations. So how do you navigate that? How do you because sometimes like I found myself where I'm trying to help and I'm trying to give them good advice and they either are offended that I'm giving them advice, or maybe I'm talking to them like I'm their big brother, but they don't see it that like I don't know. It gets tricky. So how does that work for you?
I mean, I think you have to treat people the same, but also different at the same time. It's based on their personality, it's based on the relationship, it's based on, lots of different things. I'm blessed to have some really good leaders that will have those conversations a lot of times. And for me, again, it really depends on the relationship and who we're talking about, or their situation. I think we have to ask more questions. I think that's one thing I've learned to get better at and strive to is listening better. Because if you listen, sometimes they're going to give you they're going to give you the answer to themselves a lot of times. So I think it's just doing that, and that's something we have to work on every day, I believe,
Yeah.
in conversation. I'm not one that's going to beat you up too bad or anything like that. I've never been that way. If anything, I've been softer than I probably should be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think I have learned over the last few years being real up front, what it looks like, all those things matter. Like what, we got to invest, what it's going to be hard days, those things are important. So I think it's just how we set that groundwork before we hire somebody with expectations. That's another thing. Are we setting proper expectations? And if we are, then that relationship is going to be different than if we don't set those expectations, if that makes sense.
Well, it's the same thing. You go into a sales call. We need to come up with a new name for it because people don't know what we're talking about. We used to call it setting the table, right? It's like
Yeah.
if you set the table, i.e., set good expectations about what we're going to do today, then when you get to the asking for the driver's license, the bank account, it's like we've already said what we're going to do. We're just doing what we said. So if anybody has a good phrase setting the table that translates into telesales, let us know. We're going to try to coin a new phrase here. Um, but now I'm just curious, I don't know. Do you have anybody in your squad that's still running in homes? I don't know if there's unicorns out there that still exist.
Not, I mean, there's one or two that might run in home here or there. Like Jackson, who's on here, he ran one or two here or there, but
Okay.
he's basically all telesales now. We had a couple of
Yeah.
office will go out once in a while, but it's very, very rare. Most of
I
all
this,
virtual.
so I'm over here in Atlanta and well, North Atlanta, but I used to run all my in homes in Atlanta, which if anybody's been to Atlanta, it is like going to a war zone.
Yeah.
And Jamie was here a couple weeks ago. He was at the airport and he called me. He goes, dude, I don't know how you didn't quit. This place is nuts. And I remember a while back, I was like, like I kind of miss going into homes, and I had to deliver a death claim. And so I'm gonna drive to their house and I'm just gonna go see them. You know what I mean? Because it's about relationships and people. So
Sure.
I drove to Atlanta. I was like an hour and a half away to go deliver this death claim and talk to the family. And other than like being in the home was great. I was good to see the clients and all that even though it was like not a fun situation. But I absolutely hated leaving the house and driving. I was like, I never want to do this if I don't have to. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for where we're at. So did you ever have to this is kind of going back and maybe this call is more like letting everybody know how good we have it these days.
Yeah.
But did Did you ever have any crazy experiences in the home?
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm talking no, Elise is on. I'm not going to go there, Elise. I have some stories. Yeah.
gonna
But
laugh.
when I first started back in the day, we used to have to do like the mouth swab and all the stuff like right there.
Yeah.
So do you have to do anything like that way
I
back
I
when?
think I had one or two. I remember calling around for those kits, like trying to find one, and somebody had one, and we had to meet up and grab it for America or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Or
do
did
remember that. Yeah.
I used to have a debit route. So I had to
Yeah.
I had to I had to go and collect premium every month. I'd have to go get Aunt Sally's, $13.72. And then she would spend it and then she would be mad at me that I didn't show up on time,
Yeah. Well,
you
combined
know.
with those cards, we had to go back every 6 months. So I did that. With the other company, it was, you knew where they were, like
Hmm.
sold a policy there before. So you drive down the road. Oh, I remember them. And you go in and see them and all that stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of crazy stories, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One of the craziest ones right near where you are, near Buford, I think it was.
Okay,
I
yeah.
used to be I used to, in Athens, I was the district manager. So we covered all the way from Gwinnett in. And so Gwinnett, I got the crap kicked out of me in that place. Good gosh. But I did salvage the week by finding this business anyway. But while I was there, I'll say this right away. I was asked to not take my shoes off, which is weird because normally you're asking the opposite. You wipe your feet, whatever.
Hey, take
Well,
shoes
you
off.
can
Yeah.
wipe your feet, just don't take them off. And I'm like, why? And so anyway, after we got done selling them, they showed me, and they said they had a rooster. I'll just say this: a rooster likes shoes, and literally brought the rooster in the middle of the living room and laid their shoe down, and it did its thing. Anyway, that's just and that's near where you, not too far from where you live.
Yeah,
See, down
yeah,
there, you
that's
got to get past Gwinnett. You got to get out like the Athens and some of those
oh yeah.
territories. You can right up in Rome, even where I grew up in Rome.
Did
So
you really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So my second week in the business, I went out to Athens
Mhm.
and I just that it was kind of like a mini travel trip. Not, it's kind of close, but
Yeah.
far enough. And I just got my butt kicked all weekend, wasn't selling anything, no one had any money. It was miserable. My last appointment of the weekend, it's always your last appointment, right? I
Hmm.
go and I sit, and this guy, he's a retired attorney. He was loaded. He's got leather chairs and this antique gun collection. And we sat for 2 hours. He served me wine and he bought $7,000 of premium in final expense policies. And he's like, "Yep, I got plenty of money, but I just want some insurance and da 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 da." And I remember asking for his banking, and he grabs like a collection of checkbooks and he throws one at me and he goes, "Oh, there's 100 grand in that account. Just take that one." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I took pictures of like his gun collection, and we had a great time. And I made $7,000. This is my second week in the business, so I'm losing my mind. I think I recruited more people in that one single day than ever because I was just so excited that I was like, if the business could be like this, I go and sit in rich people's houses and make tons of money and have a great time. This is the best business ever. But that
Yeah.
was after a whole weekend of getting my butt kicked.
Mm.
Now, that was great. The backside of that story is 2 years later, he called up the carriers and said, I never was in his house. I lied about the application and he was trying to get his money back.
Wow.
So now this is yeah. I was like, I was hurt because I thought we were like, we were tight.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is like, if you're like, oh, my clients love me, if they might say that in the 30 minutes to an hour you're on the phone, but if you're not like using the what happened button and postcards and all the things that we do, that's why we do it, is because what I was able to do, because I had those pictures, I sent them into the carriers and I was like, here's our text messages, here's the pictures of me in his house. And they were like, okay, obviously this guy's just being ridiculous.
Yeah.
So crazy story, but also the lesson is, that's why we have the system, because you can document everything if you run into a situation like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy that you're from up this way. That's cool. And I used to live over in South Hills, so I'd go to Roanoke all the time for work.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned something there, and I think that's why we talked about this, and we have to treat it like a business, right? And so when we try to say to the agents, like, here's your business account, here's your personal account. I had that, right? Like money goes in that business account, that's for your business. And so if you have a situation where something does fall off, the business should be able to handle it if you do it properly. But if you make 10 grand and spend it all because you want to go buy something or go on vacations and all that, that'll run you out of the business very
Uh,
quickly. So you got
well,
to make
that's
sure that money's coming in. But in your case, you were brand new. I'm just saying, like, that's how you protect that from happening to you.
yeah. Let me ask you a question, and this is maybe slightly personal. So
Whatever you want.
yeah, when you came in the business, you grew incredibly quick, and I've heard you on calls 100 times. I mean, you invested everything.
I did.
Yeah, and I mean, you were writing 30, 40K a month personally. You were investing everything back. I know I remember you saying how fast you were growing your personal staff, and like what advice would you give to people? And I think it comes with like obviously everybody their goals are a little bit different, right? So you have to when you're given advice, you have to know like what your goals are and kind of receive the advice based on your goals. So there's a little bit of that that comes with a warning, but what would you give general advice to somebody who's like wanting to grow all aspects of their business when it comes to the financial aspect, right? Like, hey, I just had a big month. Should I save? Should I just reinvest it all? Like, how do you think about that? And what advice would you give to most people that are on this call anyway?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just taking the money that I made and, writing, let's just say Hall of Fame. The funny thing is, I started at the end of 19 and 30,000 was a big month.
I
Like
know, right?
seriously.
I know,
And
right?
now you
And
guys are writing crazy numbers. So 40, but anyway, I was writing 40, 50K, whatever it was to get to that Hall of Fame. But understood business. So when the money went into that account, I paid staff. Now, I scaled and asked during that time questions of Sean or whoever. Um, I just wanted to grow. And so when I didn't think we were growing fast enough, I hired somebody else to do something or whatever. And I think maybe too much, to be honest with you. Like we had six by the end of that year. So a little bit much. So I think it's just for me, and that's where this system, and again, I'm selling this because I believe in it. Like I'm talking about it because you have so much more on the virtual side with this that if you have one person that can help you do whatever, or you hire a dollar, that's probably what most of you need if you're just trying to scale the business. It depends on what you want that other person to do. But
hmm
the recruiting, things like that, helping with that would probably be what I'd look at. Some follow up. Aaron's been with me since almost day one, and he can call a carrier. He can do some of those things. You don't want to do that. So I remember Sean saying that first time. He said, if you were going to hire somebody, you want to hire somebody that um, is doing something that doesn't make you money. And realistically, calling a carrier saves you money, but it also is a lot of time. So
Yeah.
you guys write 5 apps this week and you just want to follow up, make sure payment, whatever. Things happen, right? We don't, I mean, America pays you 24 hours. Good. Let's keep writing that, which is why I wrote so much of it and still do if I can.
Yeah.
Uh, but without that, you still got to have somebody to follow up, and it takes you 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And some of us will be reserved and not spend, say, $500 a week or whatever to have someone do that. I realized that that $500 would make me 3 grand or 5 grand or whatever because it would free up time. So I think again, you mentioned each person's got to be a different level. And so I think we have to ask the right questions. What do you want it to look like? How fast do you want to go? What is your financial situation? That's why those questions matter because everybody's different, right? For me, dude, I was all in and I just listened to the highest level I could find, which was Sean, and just went to work and broke a bunch of stuff and learned along the way the best I could. And I always had the right intentions, which is to helping people. And I tried to pass that along. So I
Yeah.
think, I mean, having the in the virtual world, I mean, again, having this system, we have the dialer in the system,
Yep.
right? I'm
Yep.
using Joel's leads, kind of all the same thing, same place, makes sense to me. One bill, one person. And we'll say y'all's customer service. You guys all know this, how good they are. So,
Hey, appreciate that.
but if you're not on LCP, dude, I do. Like I sent you four things yesterday. I try not to bug y'all too much, but then
It,
sometimes it backs up on me and it's like, but you guys were
it's
on it, man. And so I'm
yeah.
grateful for that. So I'm a little bit all over the place, ADD, but I think it's really just individual person's goals. So I think that starts with a conversation. And I always ask those questions. When I was going to change something, I called Andrew. So in other words,
Yeah.
if you we're going to make a big move or you were going to do that, make sure you check with whoever your mentor is, whoever that might be.
That
Because
no, that
that
is
can
good
get
at
you in trouble if you go, well,
hmm
you just spend, oh, I thought that might work. Well, no, but it didn't, because if you'd asked me, I'd have told you not to do that. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like with you and Jamie, let's just assume if you had, I always look at it this way. If I've never done it, I'm going to ask. I'm not going
Yep.
to, and the
No,
other thing,
that's
I don't look around at everybody else's situation, who's on stage and this. I don't worry about all that stuff. Like I stayed in my lane. And if I had a question, for example, if I saw somebody on Eric's team, I don't know if he's still on here, but I would call Eric first. I wouldn't call Joe, who I don't even know, and start asking him questions. I would call the integrity partner, somebody I knew, and ask him. I never called anybody until I asked Andrew or Trey or somebody I knew I could trust. Does that make sense?
no, that's good. I see a lot of people that whether it's like they're playing lead vendor roulette,
Yeah.
searching for the best lead or do the same thing with the carriers. They're just constantly changing. And when you're constantly changing everything,
Hard.
you can never get a baseline for what's working or what's not. And so I always tell people, and you just said it, it's like find something that's working and then only change one thing at a time. And it's best to like, if you're going to test it out, test it when you're winning and you have lots of money. The time to not like just blow up everything and try something new is like when you're in a slump. It's like that's the time to just double down and get like gritty and get your hands dirty and just grind. And then when you're winning again, that's when you maybe just, add in a little extra money or do this or, change whatever. But seek wise counsel. There's a book that says that.
And just like this system, I mean, I asked Brian about because he's used it longer than most, or asked him about what dollar. Maybe it didn't work out for me and I ended up with y'all. I mean, but it's just asking those questions to the right people who have used it,
hmm
done it, had some success, whatever the case may be. And by the way, Toretto does not need any more caffeine. I saw that earlier, by the way. Anyway, think about that. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dave, man, appreciate you being on. I enjoyed this conversation. Always love seeing you, and you always bring energy, whether it's on the big stage or just to a call like this. So I appreciate you. Any last words or last advice that you give everybody? We're sitting about it's April 2026. So we got 3 quarters of the year to go on. Maybe hitting their goals this year or what you guys are focused on specifically. Anything that you could share as we wrap up here?
well, it's an honor to see a lot of you guys. I mean, Al, I see you on here. Great dude. I've known him for several years now. And
How's the
but then
man?
there's new ones I don't know, and I think if you're brand new or newer in this business, then you probably have really good leadership if you're on Jamie's and Josh's team or whoever's team. And we're all here to help. That's one thing for Family First Life. It's just like, and again, Eric would have somebody call me from occasion or whatever. I think again, you reach out, but also find out who the leader is first and ask those questions because you don't know everything about the person just because you see them on social media, right? I will say this that I try to be this me, right? And be you. Be you. Don't try to be somebody else. Figure out what your goals are. Have the mentor help you get to those goals, whatever they are, and you can always adjust along the way. And I'd say consistency is probably the key. You know, make sure you stay in the game. Make sure you work the numbers. Make sure you have the right intentions and do things the right way. And this will also help you with that. All the tools that we have now are just it's crazy. So many of them. So that's the other thing I was telling somebody the other day. Well, I'm never changing the system because I already learned it. It's too much. It's like give me an iPad and go in the field. I can do that. But
Yeah.
stuff once you figure it out, why would you change systems or and even leads? I mean, Joel's great. He communicates. Leads are leads, but I mean, at the end of the day, he gets them over. He answers questions. He texts. I'm like, again, I'm just telling you what I'm using, and I
Yep.
used I think one other vendor maybe in the last couple of years, but again, maybe tried two. But again, I wanted to find the right one that I could communicate with and get things done the right way. And he's doing that. And you guys are doing a great job too. So I think finding your lane, stay in your lane, learn, make adjustments along the way. And one thing this business has provided for my family for a long time. And
Yep.
you can make a lot of money at it. You can travel, you can build great friendships. And if you heard my story, I only left the first company because of some really bad things that happened and they wouldn't support it, even though I moved 3 times my first year for them. The second company I was with 19 years, and I've been here 7. And I'll retire here. I don't. The reason I'm saying that to you guys is because you're in the right place by far. The right people, the right teams, Family First Life, and Sean. So you get something works as hard as you do, and you're following that guy. So if you don't, he may not be your perfect person, but dude works his tail off, and you can respect that. So that's what I would say to you.
Love that. Love that. So, heart, faith, and hustle. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that over and over. I like that. And appreciate you being on. Appreciate you sharing with us. And so, everybody, let's
Thank you.
see. It is Wednesday. We'll be back on office hours Friday at 1 Eastern. So Mondays and Fridays, I have noticed that a couple people here and there are trying to get in at 12 o'clock Eastern. It's 1 o'clock to try to avoid some of the big calls that we know that happen in and around the space. If you go to the dashboard or the stats page inside of LeadChamp, we have the announcements that are always there on last week's call, next week's call, office hours, anything that you need, kind of the important things that you need to know. And then as any, I think that's it. Other than that, support's always open. We're here. You guys have a great day. Take care for now.